Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Hallie. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so excited for today's video. I cannot believe the time has finally come, but I have been waiting for this moment all summer. Mentally, I'm already fully in fall mode. So this TBR is just so exciting for me because it's like the beginning of fall spooky season, even though it is quite literally reaching 111 degrees this week in Arizona. I'll be walking around in sweat sets all day, every day while I'm at the house because mentally I'm just not there. Like I don't actually live in the desert in my delusion. Today we're going to be talking about all the books that I want to read in the month of September. Most of these are going to be very much fall fantasy vibes. I do have a couple of what a lot of people I feel like would consider summer romances, but besides that, I'm just fully jumping into my fall mood here. But before we get into today's video, I do want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, which is a Book of the Month. If you haven't already heard of Book of the Month, I have mentioned them several times on my channel before. I love Book of the Month and I am personally subscribed to Book of the Month. I feel like I have discovered so many new authors and new books that I otherwise probably wouldn't have discovered on my own. Book of the Month is a monthly book subscription service whose mission is to bring the best fiction forward. Every single month, their editorial team reads through hundreds of new and emerging authors and books, and then they pick some of the best books for you to choose from. They have some of the best prices on new release hardcover fiction. Every single month, there's a new curated selection of books for you to choose from. And at any point, you can skip any month you want for free. You can see my growing collection of Book of the Month books. I love that they are all hardcovers and they're all the same size. They look so cute sitting on my shelf all together. I love it so much. Not only do they offer hardcovers, but if you would prefer to listen to your book instead, they do also offer audiobooks in addition to the hardcovers. So each month you're able to choose whether you want to do the audiobook or the hardcover for that month. And this month when you join, you can get your first book for just $5 with the code CARDIGAN. I will have it up on screen as well as the link, the code, everything else you need in the description box below. Now, to get into the books that I chose for this month's Book of the Month, the first book is Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. First of all, look how beautiful this cover is. This one is a dark romantasy. I believe it is about two sisters. One of the sisters enters a deadly magical competition where at the end, if you win, you are granted one single wish for anything. And when the one sister joins the competition, the other sister follows her into the competition to try and save her life because it is so deadly. So very excited for this one. And then I also chose Sleep Tight by J.H. Markert. This is a thriller horror, and the little synopsis of this one says, "Beware, the one that got away. The sole survivor of a serial killer might hold the key to stopping a new spree of murders in this propulsive horror thriller." I am so excited to read both of these. I feel like these are both perfect picks going into the fall slash like spooky season. So if you are interested in Book of the Month and you want to go and make your book pick, make sure to visit bookofthemonth.com to join and get your first book for $5 with the code CARDIGAN. Again, all of that information, the link, the code, everything like that will be linked down below in my description. So make sure to go and click that. I highly, highly recommend Book of the Month. Thank you again to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. Without further ado, let's get into the rest of my September TBR. Okay, so I kind of have these separated out into sections. I have books that I just have the physical copy of, books that I have some of the physical copy of, but they're available on Kindle Unlimited, and then I have a couple of audiobooks that I want to listen to. So I'm going to start off with books that I have just the physical copy of. Starting off so strong, Throne of Glass. You guys, finally doing it. I'm going to start Throne of Glass. I finished A Court of Silver Flames in August. I'm so sad to be done with the ACOTAR series, but also I'm just like so excited because there's still so much more in the world of Sarah J Maas for me to discover, such as the Throne of Glass series. To be completely honest, I still have absolutely no idea what this is about. The only thing that I think that I know about this is I think the main character is a, oh my god, I almost said serial killer. No, she's an assassin. I mean, are they the same thing? No. I don't know. Anyway, she is an assassin. That's quite literally all I know. I avoid anything to do with Throne of Glass online like the plague, because one thing about Bookstagram and Book Talk is there are no warnings for anything, like if it's gonna spoil. So as soon as I see, even if I just think it's related to Throne of Glass, I just skip it right away and I do not take the chance because I'm not trying to have the entire series spoiled over a TikTok, you know? So going in absolutely blind here, but I have such high hopes for this because the entire ACOTAR series was 5 stars for me. Honestly, 6-star series, life-changing, so good. I feel like as hyped up as it was, I still was not prepared for how good it really was. I'm very excited for Throne of Glass. I don't think that I'll finish the entire Throne of Glass series by the end of the year because there are a lot of books, and then also towards the end they're all really thick. So I feel like my goal is to get like halfway through the Throne of Glass series by the end of the year. That way I can finish it next year and then read Crescent City, hopefully next year. But starting off so strong with Throne of Glass, I'm so excited to read this. I feel like I'm gonna love the Throne of Glass series. So that is book number 1. The next book that I have is The Spell Shop by Sarah Beth Durst. First of all, look at the cover, so cute. I feel like I saw this cover and also combined with the sprayed edges, which I normally don't like books with just like plain sprayed edges, but something about this combo was just perfect for me. This is a little cozy fantasy. I've actually never read a cozy fantasy before. I feel like I've only ever read like high stakes romantasy before. I did read a dark fantasy for the first time, but still my favorite is like high stakes romantasy. But I'm really excited to read a little cozy fantasy and see if I like the vibes. This one, I'll just read a little bit of the synopsis for this one because for most of these, I like to go in as blind as possible. And I have come to terms with just reading a bit of the synopsis to get my point across better rather than stumbling over my words and then leaving us all further confused. So, okay, so this follows Keela and her assistant Kaz. They are librarians of the Great Library of Elysium. And then it says, when a revolution begins and the library goes up in flames, she and Kaz flee with all the spellbooks they can carry and head to the remote island Keela never thought that she'd see again, her childhood home. Taking refuge there, Keela discovers, much to her dismay, a nosy and very handsome neighbor who can't take a hint and keeps showing up day after day to make sure she's fed and to help fix up her new home. In need of income, Keela identifies something that even the bakery in town doesn't have: jam. With the help of an old recipe book her parents left and a bit of illegal magic, her cottage garden is soon covered in ripe berries. But magic can do more than make life a little sweeter, so Keela risks the consequences of using unsanctioned spells and opens the island's first ever and much needed secret spell shop. That just sounds so cute. I feel like with so many other cozy fantasies, I've read it and I'm like, yeah, it sounds cute and cozy, but I feel like it will not keep my attention. And one thing about being a reader with ADHD is it has to like keep my attention. Like I physically cannot read something if I'm not interested in it. Like I can't make myself do it. So when I read the synopsis of this, I was like, wait, okay, it's really giving super cute cozy fantasy and it sounds actually interesting. Give it to me right now. Very excited for that one. The next one is a cute little romance called Morbidly Yours by Ivy Fairbanks. This one I read the synopsis to and I was like, wait, that actually sounds so funny, because again, I feel like with holiday themed books, it's really like hit or miss for me. I feel like a lot of them I just don't have the motivation to read because I'm like, I just don't care. Like I feel like I'm not going to be invested in the story. It's not going to keep my attention. I don't know. Like I haven't really honestly read that many, not holiday themed, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like a little spooky romance or like in Christmas reading, like a Christmas read. But this one actually sounded funny. This one says, painfully shy Callum Flannelly would rather dive into an open grave than take a stranger to dinner. But he can only inherit the family undertaking business under one condition: he must marry before his 35th birthday. Text and animator Lark Thompson moved to Galway, Ireland, which how fun, it takes place in Ireland, to restart her life and career, not to be reminded of losing her husband by moving in next to a funeral home. But when she learns of Callum's dilemma, Lark's certain that she can help him find the one, even if she's sworn off love herself. Though as the dating project progresses and Lark spends more time with straight-laced, sarcastic Callum, he starts to crack the ice around her grieving heart. And the more joy that vivacious Lark brings to Callum's gray existence, the less he can imagine letting her return to Texas. If they think they can ignore their connection, they're dead wrong. Does that not sound so cute? And the MMC being like a little grumpy Irish guy, I love that so much. So I'm very, very excited to get to this one. I've never read anything by Ivy Fairbanks, so I'm excited to try out a new author and see if I like her writing. I also appreciate that it's kind of short and sweet, because I feel like sometimes with like spooky reads or Christmas reads, it's like, why is it 500 pages? So I do appreciate that. And speaking of new authors, the next one I have is Happy Place by Emily Henry. I'm so excited to read this. I have been putting this off for so long. I bought this last October whenever I very first started reading. I feel like Emily Henry is still like a newer author to me because I have read Funny Story by her, but that's the only other book that I have ever read by Emily Henry. I did love Funny Story so much. I rated it 5 stars. It was so crazy because the way that it was written, like it's obviously a book, but the characters just felt so real, and like reading their conversations, it didn't feel like sometimes sometimes I feel like when I'm reading books, I'll read the banter and it kind of takes me out of the book because I'm like, it doesn't feel real. But one thing about Emily Henry is like when you're reading the conversations, it genuinely feels like a real life conversation. I feel like that doesn't really make sense, but I just really loved her writing. And also it was so funny. Like most books don't make me genuinely laugh, and that book had me just like giggling throughout the entire thing. So I am very excited to read Happy Place. If you somehow don't know what Happy Place is about already, this book follows Harriet and Wen. They're part of a long-term friend group, and every single year they go on vacation to this lake house together. It's become like an annual friends trip that they take every single year. This year they realize that the lake house that they go to is being sold, and so this is going to be the last vacation that they go on with their friends. But what their friends don't know is that Harriet and Wen have broken up, but they don't want to tell anybody and ruin the last vacation that they're going to have in this special lake house. And that's pretty much all I know about this book, but I feel like I'm really going to love it, especially based off of funny story. I honestly liked it so much more than I thought I would. For some reason I have this thing with like books or authors that are super popular. I get super in my head and it makes me like intimidated to read it because I feel like for some reason I'm just not going to like it as much as everyone else does. So I kind of felt that way going into Funny Story. Like I didn't want to get my hopes up to like Emily Henry's writing too much just in case I was like disappointed by it and didn't like it like everyone else, but clearly that was not the case because I rated it 5 stars and it was so good. So I honestly have very high expectations for Happy Place. I really feel like I'm gonna like it. Very excited for this one as well. Those are all the books that I have just the physical copy of. The next section that we're gonna do are books that some of them I do have the physical copy for, but all of these next books I'm gonna be talking about are available on Kindle Unlimited as well. The next book I have here is The Wicked King by Holly Black. This is the second book in the Folk of the Air trilogy. I read The Cruel Prince last month, and The Cruel Prince again was one of those books where, like I was saying, it was so popular and so hyped up that for some reason I was just so intimidated to start the series. I don't know if it was like the cover was just giving intimidating. I was very nervous to start that series and I didn't think that I would like it as much as I did, especially because this is a YA fantasy, but I feel like honestly maybe I just really like Hello? But I feel like honestly maybe I just really like YA fantasies because I think like every single YA fantasy that I have read so far I've really liked and has not disappointed. And I don't know if it's because something about the writing is just really easy to digest. I don't know, but The Cruel Prince was a 5-star read for me for sure. From the second I started it, I loved the world in Holly Black's writing. I just loved the way that the world was described and everything like that. And then the second half of the book, the plot really took me by surprise so much. So I'm so excited to get farther into the story and see what happens in this book next. After this, I know that there's one more book in the trilogy and then a little like novella at the end of it, I think. I'm not sure, but I'm very excited to read not only this, but other books in the world of Holly Black as well. The next book that I have on my TBR, I don't have the physical copy of yet, but it is Ruthless Fae, which is the second book in the Zodiac Academy series. This series follows 2 twins, Darcy and why do I always forget her name? I literally said this in the reading vlog where I read the first one. I always think of Darcy and Stacy from TLC for some reason. It's Darcy and it's Tori. Thank you. Okay, so the Zodiac Academy series follows Darcy and Tori, and they basically grow up in the human realm as orphans, and they kind of jump around from foster home to foster home. And then one day, I think whenever they are 18, some random guy shows up and whisks them away to the Fae realm, and they take them to the school, the Zodiac Academy, and there they realize that they have elemental powers, and they also realize that they are actually the long lost heirs to the throne. In order to have access to all of their riches and all of this stuff, they have to make it through Zodiac Academy and essentially like prove their worth and their strength at Zodiac Academy. So that's basically what you're following, except because they were lost for so many years, there's like 4 families that band together to rule together instead of just having like one ruler, because like the bloodline was lost obviously with the twins being lost. So there are 4, I think there's 4 heirs to the throne right now, and they obviously obviously feel really threatened by them coming back and like trying to steal the throne from them. And so it's kind of like a battle between the 4 heirs and then Darcy and Tori. Yeah, that's basically what you followed in the first book. The way that the first book ended left on like not necessarily a huge cliffhanger, but just like the ending of the book was crazy, and you're just like, oh my god, like, oh my god. I am so excited to start the second book. I honestly wanted to go and start the second book as soon as I finished the first book, but I had other books that I needed to read, and I was like, I can't do that. I'm so excited to read the next book in the Zodiac Academy. After that, the next book that I have is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I think that this is actually a indie published version. I don't know if this is getting traditionally published or something, but I kind of love it because it's huge and floppy. Like, this is just amazing. I have absolutely no idea what this is about. I saw a TikTok about this and it convinced me to want to read it right now. Everyone is just saying that it is a incredible romantasy, and honestly, that's all I need to hear. I just love romantasy so much, and I feel like romantasy hardly ever disappoints. Like, so many of the romantasies that I read end up being at least like a 3.75. I feel like nothing is really lower than a 3.75 because I just have such a good time. And at the end of the day, that's what I'm reading for. I just want to have a good time, you know? So let me look up, because this doesn't even have like a synopsis on the back. It literally just says the devil's in the details. Let me look up like the synopsis on Goodreads and see what it says. Do not touch the sword, do not turn the key, do not open the gate. In the land of the unforgiving desert, there isn't much a girl wouldn't do for a glass of water. 24-year-old Saris Fane is good at keeping secrets. No one knows about the strange powers she possesses, or the fact that she has been picking pockets and stealing from the undying queen's reservoirs as long as she can remember. But a secret is like a knot, and sooner or later it's bound to come undone. When Saris comes face to face with death himself, she inadvertently reopens a gateway between the realms and is transported to a land of ice and snow. The Fae have always been the stuff of myth, of legend, of nightmares, but it turns out they're real, and Saris has landed herself right in the middle of a centuries-long conflict that might just get her killed. The first of her kind to tread the frozen mountains of Evalia, I think. In 1,000 years, Saris mistakenly binds herself to Kingfisher, a handsome Fae warrior. Oh my god, do I smell enemies to lovers? A handsome Fae warrior who has secrets and nefarious agendas of his own. He will use her alchemist's magic to protect his people, no matter what it costs him or her. Death has a name. It's Kingfisher. His past is murky, his attitude stinks, and he's the only way Saris is going to make it home. Be careful of the deals you make, dear child. The devil's in the details. Sounds so good. Like, does that not sound so good? So anyway, yes, we have a little romantasy with some enemies to lovers. I feel like I'm going to absolutely eat this one up. So excited for this. Next, we have The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. This is actually going to be my first ever Abby Jimenez book. I feel like I have wanted to read Abby Jimenez for the longest time because so many people just rave about her books and her writing. And one thing that I've heard so many people say about Abby Jimenez is a lot of her characters have really good representation of mental health issues. So I'm really excited to kind of read that and see that depicted in her books and just see how I like it. I feel like Abby Jimenez has a cult following in the way that Emily Henry does, and I feel like because I put funny story on my TBR, in case I really love that, I felt like this would be a really good book to also read if I'm wanting kind of more of that deeply emotional romance, because I feel like one thing that people say about Abby Jimenez too is like she's really good at representing different mental health issues, but also you like go into the book thinking it's like a cutie fun romance, and then it's like so deeply emotional that you're just like sobbing and it just like grips your heart. And I honestly love romances like that, so I'm very excited. This one says Kristen Peterson doesn't do drama, will fight to the death for her friends, and has no room in her life for guys who just don't get her. She's also keeping a big secret, facing a medically necessary procedure that will make it impossible for her to have children. Planning her best friend's wedding is bittersweet for Kristen, especially when she meets the best man, Josh Copeland. He's funny, sexy, never offended by her mile-wide streak of sarcasm, and always one chicken enchilada ahead of her hangry. Even her dog, Stuntman Mike, adores him. The only catch, Josh wants a big family someday. Kristen knows he'd be better off with someone else, but as their attraction grows, it's harder and harder to keep him at arm's length. The Friend Zone will have you laughing one moment and grabbing for tissues the next, as it tackles the realities of infertility and loss with wit, heart, and a lot of sass. glass. I can absolutely see this making me sob. I feel like anything to do with any of that, I'm already just like so emotional about. So I am very excited for this one. I feel like it's really going to hit me deep. And sometimes you just need that, you know, like sometimes you just want a book to absolutely rip you apart, but then carefully glue you back together at the end, you know? Very excited for this. This is my first step into the world of Abby Jimenez as well. I do have a couple of her other books. I think I have the other 2 books in this little interconnected series. So if I like this, I already have a couple of her other books to jump into. Another one that I have on my TBR that I don't have the physical copy yet is A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. This one was actually recommended to me by my bestie Sam. I love you so much. She read this and she was like, if you guys want a good rec, read this one. She said it was really, really funny, so cute. The spy scenes were... I honestly am really excited for this one. I did actually start this one because I had asked her like for a good book rec when we were going on vacation to Vegas for my friend's bachelorette party. Obviously, I didn't know who I was, thinking that I was going to be sitting and reading books at a bachelorette party in Vegas. I did end up reading just a couple chapters of it, I think, but the synopsis for this one says, how did you two meet? The quintessential question asked to every couple, and the answer is usually some bubbly lovey-dovey tale of being struck in the bum by Cupid's bow. My meet cute, well, not so meet cute, is slightly different. I was trolling a wealthy neighborhood in Beverly Hills searching for someone to take me as their bride, and you know, to make my arch nemesis jealous, who consequently just fired me. He was stomping around the block like some sort of gorgeous ogre, mumbling about a business deal gone wrong and attempting to finagle his way out of it. And that's when we bumped into each other. There were no sparks, not even a hint of blossoming love, but the next thing I knew, I was scarfing down free chips and guac, listening to this man lay out all of his problems, which led to his big ask. He wanted me to be his Vivian Ward, you know, from Pretty Woman, minus the frisky behavior. We were talking about living in a mansion, intimate double dates, and pretending we were head over heels in love and engaged. Can you imagine? The absolute audacity. But people do crazy things when they're desperate, and I reeked of desperation. So I struck up a deal. My one big mistake though, I accidentally fell for the incomparable Huxley Kane. I don't know, I feel like it's honestly just a fun little rom-com. It's fake dating, which for some reason I just love fake dating. I eat it up every single time. Is it realistic? No. Will I automatically read a book if it has fake dating? Most likely, yes. It's just so good. I don't know what it is about it. I just love it. And I do remember whenever I started it that it was actually like funny. It just felt like watching a little, not like an old school rom-com movie, but what it felt like is watching like a rom-com TV show. And I feel like if you watch a lot of TV, you know what I'm saying. Like the vibes of like a rom-com TV show versus like an old rom-com movie are very different, both good, but in different ways. And I feel like this was giving like cute, fun, sexy rom-com TV show, you know? So very excited to read the rest of that one and see if I end up liking it. Okay, the last 2 books on my September TBR are actually books that I want to listen to the audiobook for. The first one being Listen for the Lie. When I read the synopsis for this book, I immediately knew that I wanted to listen to the audiobook. I believe that it incorporates like a podcast or something, and I love listening to audiobooks where like the book is written about some form of podcast and stuff. I feel like it just really enhances the experience of the book, so I'm very excited about this one. The synopsis says, what if you thought you murdered your best friend, and if everyone else thought so too? And what if the truth doesn't matter? Lucy and Savvy were the golden girls of their small Texas town, pretty, smart, and enviable. Lucy married a dream guy with a big ring and an even bigger new home. Savvy was the social butterfly, loved by all, and if you believe the rumors, especially popular with the men in town. But after Lucy is found wandering the streets covered in her best friend Savvy's blood, everyone thinks she's a murderer. It's been years since that horrible night, a night Lucy can't remember anything about, and she has since moved to LA to start a new life. But now the phenomenally huge hit true crime podcast Listen for the Lie and its 2 good-looking hosts Ben Owens have decided to investigate Savvy's murder for the show's 2nd season. Lucy is forced to return to the place she vowed never to set foot in again to solve her friend's murder, even if she's the one who did it. The truth is out there if we just listen. That sounds so good. I'm so excited to listen for the audiobook of this one. I feel like that's such a good audiobook for like fall spooky time too. And again, the fact that it has a podcast in it, I feel like is just gonna be so good. So I'm very excited for that one. And then the last book that I have on my September TBR that I want to listen to the audiobook for is Two Twisted Crowns by Rachel Gillig. I read the first book in this duology last month, One Dark Window. I rated it 3.75 on Goodreads. I feel like now that it's been some time, I would probably lower it to like a 3 3.5. I just feel like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I don't know. It was the first ever like gothic fantasy that I've ever read, and I feel like because I didn't know that going into it, like I wasn't expecting that vibe. So I feel like that already kind of affected my experience of the book. But then also for the entire first half of the book, I just didn't know what was going on. So I like was not invested in the story, didn't understand, and honestly didn't care for the entire first half of the book. And I feel like if it wasn't for the last like 5 to 6 chapters of that book, I wouldn't even be picking this one up. But because of the way it ended, I have slightly higher hopes that I might actually end up liking this one a lot more than the first one. See, and I feel like I can't even explain what the first one was about. It's like a magical world where in this town there is like a mist, and if you'll get infected by the mist, you can have magical abilities, but when you use the magical abilities, it like degenerates you in some way. So some people end up going crazy, some people end up dying somehow. I don't know. It's like it affects you all in different ways. And also the magic system is really interesting because each magical ability is connected to like a playing card, and all the different playing cards have different abilities. That's just kind of what I remember from it. It wasn't my favorite, honestly. It was just like good, but I just think maybe, I don't know. But I'm gonna give the second book a try. I did listen to the audiobook of the first one as well, so I felt like it was only right to continue on the duology by listening to the second one in audiobook format as well. Those are all the books that I want to hopefully read in the month of September. I'm so excited. I feel like all these are gonna be so good, especially going into the fall/spooky season. Let me know down below what some of the books are that you guys have on your fall/September TBR as well. Maybe we can give each other some ideas in the comments. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe, and also don't forget to click the link down below in my description. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and I will see you in the next one.